let's talk about camera accessories. We're going to start with the lens. In the last video, I mentioned that you always want to keep your lens cover on when you're not shooting, just to protect the glass, make sure there's no smudges, dirt, anything like that, scratches, shatter. You don't want that. When you are shooting, there is still a way that you can protect your lens, and that's by getting a hood. And it's basically a tube that's sort of got that it extends beyond the length of your lens, and that way it makes it harder for little fingers, anything to get inside and get to the glass of your lens. It just protects it. It's a hood, just like it sounds, and they're not that expensive. I think you can maybe get them for £5 online, but that's a really cheap way to protect your investment. And if the hood breaks, it's cheaper to replace that than it is to replace the entire lens. Speaking of lenses, there's loads and loads of lenses that you can get. And one of the first things, once you start exploring photography and all the things that we'll be talking about in the camera course, you start thinking like, oh, I want to get this type of shot or that type of shot. Your first thing is like, I need a new lens, and I need this lens and this lens and this lens. And your Amazon cart is going to get full. The thing to remember if you are going to buy a new lens is to make sure that it's compatible with the camera that you have. So Canon, for example, they have a mount that goes with their body that is different from Sony, that's different from Nikon. So if you think of it, if this is your camera body, this is your lens, it's like a key and a keyhole. They fit together a certain way. So when you go to buy a lens, just make sure that it is compatible with the type of camera that you have. It will save you a lot of heartache where you're all excited to get this lens, get it home, and it doesn't fit on your camera. Next, we'll talk about strap options. So we mentioned that you always want to use a strap so that if you, worst case scenario, do accidentally drop your camera, the strap will catch it. A lot of people you'll see wear them around their neck. That's a great option. Usually that comes standard with the camera when you buy it. If that's not comfortable for you, there are hand straps you can get, and they just attach to the edge of your camera and go around your hand. So it's secured on your hand. Another way to just keep your camera safe. If you don't like that, there's crossbody straps that you can get. Sometimes you can just use the neck strap as a crossbody, but there's also ones that are specifically meant to be worn crossbody, and then the camera slides up. And alternately, there's a holster. So it's almost like you're a camera slinger, and that just sits on your hip. All different options, completely depends on your preference. One isn't better than the other. It's just what you like. Now there's flash. Most of your cameras, if it's a sort of a learner or a beginning camera, will come with a flash that's built in. This can be really helpful while you're learning, but it doesn't always produce the best images. So should you decide that you want to get an external flash or a flash attachment, the thing to remember is that you want it to be able to turn. You want to be able to direct the angle that the light is going. So ideally you would be able to make it go up and down, side to side, twist it all around. And that way, when you're taking your image, rather than shooting the flash directly at your subjects, and that will make a really, really harsh light and a strong shadows behind them, you would be able to direct the flash maybe up at the ceiling, bounce the light off of there. It will be a nice softer light, and you'll get that really beautiful artificial light that looks like this, like sunlight coming through a window. So that's the thing. If you're going to buy a flash, make sure that you can move it around to direct the light the way you want it to go. Then we go to tripods. This is, I think, the next thing where we're like, ooh, I want to take all these pictures. I want to be a photographer. I think I need a tripod. That'll make me look really official. I did this, so this is not a judgment. I thought the tripod was what I needed to get my pictures the way I wanted. It's not always necessary. I actually haven't used my tripod all that much. The thing about it is you're really only going to use it if you're trying to get in the frame yourself. So maybe you want to do sort of a self-portrait series of pictures. Tripod can be really helpful for that. Or if you've got a group of friends getting together, family, you want to do a group photo and you want to be in it as rather than behind the camera as the photographer all the time, a tripod can be useful in that instance. If you're getting a tripod to make your pictures look clearer and less blurry, think about what you can do within the camera first. So what settings can you change rather than go out and spend all this money on gear when maybe it's better done in camera. If you do get a tripod and you do want to get in the photo, a remote can be really fun. I've used this with my kids Christmas morning. It's a really nice way to get in the picture. You just click the remote. It's just like it sounds like, little remote, makes the camera snap a photo, but you're in it. Can also be fun for photo booths if you wanted to set up something like that. Again, I wouldn't say it's a necessity, but it is a fun little extra toy to play with. There's also reflectors. So if you have like this right now, you can see the light is coming in here, but this side of my face is a little bit shaded. If you wanted to even that out, you could get a reflector, and this just helps bounce light. You can use a white piece of foam board if you want. A reflector doesn't have to be anything fancy, and you can get all the way up to very proper photography equipment reflectors that are a bit more expensive. But the whole purpose of that is just to get some extra light in the photo. Now onto memory cards. This will be specific to your camera, so much like the lenses, you want to make sure that you know what type of memory card your camera needs. Generally speaking, an SD card will be compatible with most cameras. SD stands for Secure Digital. The thing about memory cards that I don't know if we all realize, because it's kind of like this kind of magical thing that we don't really understand, but the memory card you have does not affect the quality of your images. The memory card is there to help your camera process the pictures that you're taking. So if you spend a little bit more on a memory card, it might mean that your camera can process the pictures faster. So if you're doing sports photography or you're trying to take pictures of really fast action, a higher quality memory card will probably work in your favor because it will be able to process the pictures faster, meaning you can get more per second. If you get a cheaper one, it will still work, but you might lose a few features. And some of the things that can happen with a cheaper memory card, you would have slower processing for one. It could be a little less reliable. Sometimes they'll crash or they'll become corrupt or you'll have to reformat them and lose your pictures. Less reliable in that sense. You can have fewer backup measures. Again, SD stands for Secure Digital. So this is a way of, the memory card is there to sort of help protect your images and hold your images. It's where they live. There's different components, and you can also have a potential loss of ability to recover the data in the event that it does crash. So the more you spend, it's likely the better protected your images are. No need to spend loads and loads, just keep that in mind when you're deciding what you want. So that's a few little bits about camera accessories. Certainly there's loads more things we can talk about, but this gets us all on the same page. Those are sort of the basics. If you have any questions about camera accessories that you have or you're thinking about getting, pop it in the comments and we'll be happy to answer those questions, point you in the right direction, and give you some advice.